A jackrabbit took Raoul Walsh's right eye. Then Hollywood asked him to make its widest movie. That sounds like a bar story someone tells too loudly. Except it is real. In 1928, Walsh was working on In Old Arizona, an early outdoor talking western. He was supposed to direct it and star in it. Then near Cedar City, Utah, a jackrabbit smashed through the windshield of the car he was riding in. Glass cut his right eye. Doctors later removed it, so Walsh lost the role. Warner Baxter got it instead and won an Oscar. Pause there for a second. A man loses an eye, loses his starring part, watches another actor win Hollywood's shiny little statue for the job he was meant to do, and somehow does not leave the business. He puts on an eye patch. Then he goes bigger. By 1930, Fox gives him The Big Trail. Not just a western, not just wagons and dust and men squinting into the horizon. This thing was supposed to be a moving continent. And Walsh, now seeing the world with one eye, decides to build a movie that depends on distance. That is the part most people miss. The Big Trail was shot in Fox Grandeur, a 70mm widescreen process. The image was huge, wide enough that backgrounds mattered, wide enough that you could not hide a sloppy corner of the frame. A cabin miles away could still show up sharp. The camera did not forgive laziness. So Walsh filled the frame like a man daring his own injury to blink first. 20,000 extras, 1,800 cattle, 1,400 horses, 500 buffalo, 185 wagons, 7 states, more than 4,000 miles of moving people, animals, gear, and bad decisions. And this was not a comfortable studio trick. There were rivers, canyons, mud, wagons lowered down cliffs, sound equipment dragged into landscapes that were never built for microphones. One tracking shot needed a massive sled carrying 6 cameras, pulled by around 20 mules, tied by cables to a sound truck. That is not filmmaking. That is a piano being pushed through a swamp while someone asks it to play perfectly. And here is the cruel little joke. Walsh actually pulled it off. The movie looked enormous. It had a young unknown named John Wayne in his first starring role. It had widescreen scale before Hollywood knew what to do with widescreen. It had the future baked into the negative. But the country was broke. Most theaters had just paid to install sound. They were not lining up to rebuild again for 70mm projection. At release, only 2 theaters in America were equipped to show The Big Trail the way it was meant to be seen. Grauman's Chinese in Hollywood and the Roxy in New York. Everyone else got the smaller version. Think about that. A giant film squeezed into a smaller world. So the audience did not fully meet the movie Walsh made. They met its compromise. The box office disappointed. Wayne's rise stalled. Widescreen got shoved back onto the shelf for decades. And Walsh? He kept working. That is what gets me. Not the size of the cattle, not the budget, not even the technology. It is the image of him on that set. One good eye, watching a frame so wide that most directors would have gotten lost inside it. If a movie this strange deserves better than a footnote under John Wayne's name, leave it a like. Because this was old Hollywood before the polish dried. Dangerous, wasteful, brilliant, half-mad. The Big Trail was not just ahead of its time. It was aimed at a future that had no screens ready for it. And maybe that is the saddest kind of failure. Not making something bad. Making something too large for the room it was born into. Subscribe, because the next forgotten Hollywood disaster has a human heartbeat hiding inside the wreckage.